And that's really what happened last time, right? Last time that Godtone was on the Fiddlesticks. He actually got a bit of a lead early, but then never really found an ult that was worth mentioning. Dark Harvest here on the Fiddlesticks. It's going to be the Ghost Teleport for Adiogs on the Olaf mid. Other than that, everything pretty much as you would suspect.
Yep. So, not really too sure what to expect from this game, to be honest. I think Hellpigs are probably just going to try and look to group 5v5 and have lots of AoE team fights. On the side of PSG, if they can land poke, they should, but it doesn't really feel like it's required. Like both Jace and the Maokai do just have regular team fights pretty well, even if poke doesn't land.
Now, if you're J-Team, are you happy that Hellpigs have drafted this or upset? Because I feel like you could go either way.
Yeah, I think I'd be upset.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think Adiogs might be having a laugh in this game. I mean, we'll see.
But do you think that there's a realistic chance that if they had just played standard, played to the control mage strength, they would have had a chance here? Because
I think there's a higher chance than playing Olaf mid.
All right, we'll see.
Into this matchup, I mean, I think there are probably some games, you know, especially you see the likes of Sejuani Silas picked. That's actually a pretty good time to play Olaf. If you can play Olaf into Sejuani Silas, you're very happy. But I feel like Olaf into Maokai Jace, I mean, the Maokai doesn't have phase rush, so that makes things a little bit easier, but it doesn't strike me as a fantastic Olaf game. And I think that Adiogs in general just struggles for AD mid picks. And so when you pick something like the Fiddle, you know, he's got weird things that he comes out with, right? Like the Aphelios, like the Olaf. Maybe Zinzao would be next.
Don't mention that.
Sorry.
I don't want to see the Zinzao mid again. I mean, if it were you, you had to pick an AD mid here. What would you look for? I mean, it's like the Akshan, the Yasuo, Yone.
Yeah, I think the normal things to pick are kind of just, you know, you go past your Tristana Jace, and then you look for stuff like the Yone, obviously, if you have some setup for it. I think if you could ever get away with it, Nocturne Fiddle is a really good combo. And Nocturne's also good into Jace in team fights. The problem is the lane phase is probably a bit too hard. But
yeah, ever since that nerf.
Yeah.
I think back in the day, it would have almost been a good lane matchup because you can just shove in the Jace. Yeah. But, I mean, ultimately, it's Olaf that we get. And I mean, I'm all for it. I'm pretty excited to see it. Adiogs, again, he's been kind of the guy that's been able to make these more unique champions work. I mean, the likes of the Anivia is probably the prime example.
Look at this clear speed.
Yeah. Godtone kind of giga smurfing. Actually ends up finishing at pretty much the same time.
I did not know that worked. I've never played Fiddle Jungle, to be fair. I've only played it mid, but still.
I think while he finished at pretty much the same time as Jinjia, a lot has to be said about the health bars because generally you sacrifice health for speed when it comes to jungling. But here, Godtone remaining entirely topped up there on the health, as well as finishing it nice and quickly.
And Ping's on that top scuttle for Jinjia, and I actually think Godtone might be able to contest this. I feel like Olaf, if there is a strength of him, it is these early skirmishes, right? I would not be surprised if he tries to just play for the double scuttle here. Hits the axe there onto Maple, and Maple doesn't have a lot of mana, so might have to be careful.
Neither does Arja, so Godtone will not be able to contest it because Jinji has already done it. And honestly, part of that, probably because of those saplings. He just walked through 3 of them.
Yeah. Oh, but maybe might not be done. Or an axe gobbles all these
here's
up.
where you were wrong. There is no lane phase.
Smoge.
Actually, I guess that is one way to look at it because Olaf will likely maintain push for the early stages, at least until Jace can get some items. And you can't just walk around the map. You can hunt down this Maokai, try and make his life misery. Although
Taco.
His life might be being made a little bit easier with Taco. He's going to get flashed on. Twisted Advance will follow it, and he's going to have to try and look for the counter strike. He doesn't have it for now, and that flash has been used. He is actually going to get out. Wow.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Especially because his wave's actually in a pretty good spot. If he can take the recall, hold this freeze, because that was looking pretty disastrous for Taco. He even had his flash, I believe, followed by the Maokai. Ooh.
I was sure
both
that
tops decide to stay.
This should favor Arja.
Yeah, I think he can crash the wave, which is big. I wonder if Taco would base a little less greedy, if he could have just base TP'd and hold the wave. Because now he'll have to invest his TP, and I think Arja can actually hold his. So that's actually kind of a big win for Arjun, which I think shouldn't have happened. I think Taco's base position was a bit greedy. Gets punished for it. Let's see if Arjun TPs. No, it looks like he's going to walk to lane.
Now, what do you think Adiogs will look for items? Because I think the big ones are sometimes you go Stride Breaker, sometimes you go Juxo, and sometimes you just go straight Ravenous Hydra. And now, I know in top lane, oftentimes the Ravenous Hydra is a bit too greedy. You can only really get away with it if you're quite far ahead. But in the mid lane, maybe it's better just because you literally throw a Q through a minion wave and it all dies.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it might depend what he's kind of playing for. Because I think if you have the Stride Breaker, it's definitely an extra threat onto the Jace. You know, if you get out his phase rush and then you can just kind of ghost on him with Stride Breaker, I think he has to flash. But maybe if you've decided that the way you win this game is just you AoE down the wave and group up with Fiddle, then maybe you do go for that Ravenous. Honestly, I'm not too sure. Not exactly an Olaf mid connoisseur.
Time to change that.
Yeah, maybe.
Now,
top lane CS is actually pretty in favor of Taco, by the way, given that this is a matchup that Arjun's kind of smurfed on some Jaxes before.
Yeah, doing well for himself. I'd be interested to see. Maybe there is a big minion wave about to crash.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like this was slow pushed from Taco's tower.
Still, though, it's a pretty monumental lead.
It is. It is. And it's well done by him to have been able to find it, especially after that gank. I was so certain he was just dead to rights there, but manages to find a way out, as well as Godtone pathing up there to ensure his safety at the end of what was looking like could have been pretty disastrous.
I love how Taco's just secretly a top 3 top laner, you know? He's just on a really struggling team, and he's like a top 2, maybe top 3 top laner for sure.
Yeah, and Godtone will now claim himself those Raptors. Second time it was in fact the charm. Is he going to continue the invade? Because he certainly can.
Yeah, he can. And taking away this red would be huge, because the way Hellpigs find their wins is almost always they get this Herald, they use it top for Taco in his winning lane, and then they snowball from there. Getting this red means it's a lot harder for Jinjia to come out topside. It also means Godtone should hit 6. Could probably get that Herald and then look to dive top, which would be basically just checking all the boxes that Hellpigs need.
You know, we haven't really looked bot at all, other than when Tide's recalling. But it seems like there's some disaster trades going on down there. And Godtone, he got it the first time, but he messed it up this time.
It's a big job.
Does he look for a gank here? It looks like Woody coming out should be able to spot Godtone if he were to try sit in that Raptor pit. Instead, just opting for more farm. And it makes sense. Fiddlesticks really likes getting to those items. Yeah. Looks like he will be going for the Proto Bout, I'd imagine. Could be Night Harvester in theory.
Yep, does need to just respect, I guess, while the rest of his map is not ready to pressure, but I think they definitely want that Herald fight. That it's going to leave a lot to Hellpig's bot lane, though, to try and survive, because they are going to be pretty heavy weak-sided if that's what ends up happening. Now, Jinjia should invade this red, and this should end up being a trade. It'll mainly be to see whose weak side loses less. There's already a plate taken top, though, and I would not be surprised at all to see a dive onto top. Even though Poppy is normally really hard to dive, there is no magic resist to speak of. And the Fiddle is pretty good with the chain CC. Tide, he has to know he's heavy weak-sided here, but can he survive? There's all 4 sums up between them.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit hard to dive, although we'll have to see. Obviously, they have good tools to be able to dip in and out of tower aggro. Featherstorm, Twisted Advance, all things that can drop and regain aggro.
Yeah, he's coming top.
Oh, he is.
Oh?
No.
Is he going to defend bot? Yeah, okay. I think given the health of top lane, he has no choice. Yeah. But that's pretty unfortunate because he has to reset to a jungle that has all its cams taken. And while he can cover this dive, and if he can get a successful counter gank off, it would be really big. You still feel like you would have much rather been top, but unfortunately the bad trades from Taco kind of shut that down.
Yeah, and with those bad trades, RJ getting himself a little bit of that CS back. Will still be in favor, however, of Taco. And you're seeing CS gap coming in. Isn't that big, actually, for the bot lane, despite what I may have thought. You know, quite a few recalls having to come through from Tide, but trade from Taco, it looks like he's found himself definitely not a favorable trade. Does manage to get away, but not before costing him his flash. Is going to be able to teleport back, but Feels like you should have just gone for the recall and teleported after.
Yeah. Pretty unfortunate. But maybe there will still be a window to look top.
Oh, look at Adiog's items. Oh, baby, we're going to get ourselves a Ravenous Hydra coming through.
Yeah, okay. I guess he is just going to one-shot waves. Now, Taco is TP back top, and RJ doesn't have his. So there is probably a window to use Herald top where the Poppy won't be in lane. I think if you're God Tone, you clear this camp, and then you just run straight top and Herald, and you're probably going to almost kill the tower. Now, he might prioritize his farm higher because he did spend a lot of time going bot to defend the dive, and he did lose quite a lot of farming tempo during that time. But you do wonder if at some point you should just go top and drop it.
I think he's passing that way.
Yeah, it might be too late though.
Ginger is recalling. I feel like even at that time, just because of where Ginger was, maybe wouldn't have worked out as well as possible. In fact, he's not even going there. Heading back down the river.
I wonder what his plan is. I mean, maybe he just wants to drop the Herald for his other lanes, because that's the pretty normal thing to do, but just the way we've seen Helpix succeed has always been off top.
Wako having to use that cleanse there.
Maybe they want to look mid. April doesn't have any Merc Treads. In fact, doesn't have any boots. I believe he has magic boots, so doesn't have...
Oh, and the Hydra. It's finished.
Okay, it looks like they're going to play towards second drag instead, so not going to look to Herald top. They can maybe just Herald mid, or play for the fight and then Herald after.
I almost want to say, as long as no poke comes through, Adiog's in a really good position to be able to fight around this dragon.
Yeah.
Being that he has picked up his first item, and there is only the Demonic Embrace to answer. Rift Shield coming through here now. Is going to land the crash as Adiog's gets jumped on. And big trades there from Mabel, but importantly, Adiog's will be able to sustain that up pretty well as long as he gets access to a minion wave.
And the Saplings do a great job of just controlling this area.
Yeah.
And can spot out the Fiddle as well, though I think he will get through. This is a lot of poke landed, though.
Yeah, Adiog's getting quite low.
They're going to try, but I think this might be gone.
Oh, coming through. Okay, we're seeing the engage. It's Adiog's. He's in there. First blood. He's looking for a second one. Should be able to find it. In fact, he is. Triumph coming through. He's going to have to dodge out of the Blade Caller, but he won't. And now the 80 carries going at it. Tide. Oh my God, what a play. Tide with the instant reaction to Wako's flash to find himself a kill. It's a 3 for 3 so far, but Mabel trying to hunt down this pesky little Kai'Sa, but Tide walking a bit further than Mabel perhaps expected. It will just be the even trade, all things said and done. And think importantly, Godtone wasn't able to pick up anything from that. Kept the Crow Storm though, so if there is to be a follow-up fight, maybe finding access to that as well with the Night Harvester now completed.
That's insane though, right? I mean, having this fight be mostly even without your strongest team fight
and
ultimate,
all this poke.
Yeah, that's pretty absurd. I think Godtone, it is hard to get in here, to be fair. Especially when he's got Maple marking him. I'm not sure what happened, because he fears Maple away. I guess he just dies?
Yeah. Flashes, he gets slowed by... Run, little Godtone.
Yeah. That's a pretty unfortunate fight, but it's a very costly mistake, to be honest, because this could be a win and a drag straight after.
They're here again.
He has the cooldown.
Has his ult back.
Yeah, Godtone wants to flank. I like where he's sitting.
Speed boots on Adiog's.
Damn. That's pretty based.
That is.
Okay, well, they're going to grab this.
Honestly, big pickup.
Yeah, I mean, Olaf mid, it's broken.
They're actually losing in plates despite picking up that Rift Shield, so that certainly doesn't look good.
No flash on Godzone. Okay, he's going to be fine. Wasn't anything thrown at him there.
Now, Adiog's, though, is in a position now where he can do some damage. Tide as well, quietly working his way towards this Nash's. I think that kill he found on Wako was pretty huge. Both AD carries going for that outplay. It was Tide, who ended up the victor. Now top lane going pretty heavily in favor of RJ. I wonder, honestly, does this matchup swap at all? Or like change over to Taco favored once the likes of the Black Cleaver comes in? You feel like maybe it does?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I feel like Poppy might just be pretty much immovable for the entirety of the game.
Yeah. Certainly could be that way. Honestly, we don't see the Jax versus the Poppy all that much. We saw it very early on in the split, and since then, it's kind of been Jax picked an answer to something else. I mean, honestly, Jax picked an answer to either the Rumble or the Renekton. Maple now appearing in this top lane, swapping out top for that mid laner.
Second Herald now spawning gold is pretty much dead even. It is only a level 9 on the jungler, so don't have those level 2 ultimates just yet. But Adiox is level 11. He's going to be wanting to get stuck in. And it's just such a weird departure from Adiox's normal style. I mean, normally plays the champs with the longest range possible. I mean, I guess Olaf has a ranged ability.
What do you reckon his second item's going to be?
I have no clue. I'll wait and see.
Yeah. We'll let Adiox show us. Okay, where is Godtone? He's just sitting in the pit, not where you really want your fiddlesticks to be. I mean, you can hide in the corner, but teleport's coming in. Up top side it though, it looks like Taco trading with Maple fairly well. Will be the Nature's Grass coming out. Godtone comes in, but he doesn't find the fear. In fact, he's just targeted down. Is going to be stunned up. It's Taco on the backside though, as Adiox tries to claim up Junji at will. It's now everyone versus that Olaf, who will be shut down. It's 1 for 2. Rift Herald also going over to the side of PSG. And Godtone perhaps not finding the impact with that ultimate you would have hoped for.
I think he just went way too early.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like the carries were going to move forward. I think he just could have stayed where he was. Admittedly, it becomes a lot harder with Woody taking exhaust, which I think is really smart. You often see this into Cannon as well. But, I mean, a lot's committed. The rest of your team got thrown away, and I think unless you find the Kai'Sa or the Jace, or sorry, the Xayah or the Jace, there's probably not much point going for the ult, especially with your teammates gone. So really weird, and this is 2 fights back-to-back now that Godtone is really, really misexecuted. And I think both these fights were very, very winnable.
I think that fight was more or less a 3v5, by the way, and still how Pigs managed to keep it somewhat even.
Yeah.
They do honestly have a pretty scary team fight.
They do.
And Olaf running at you with the constant worry of where this Fiddlesticks is going to be coming from. And then you saw Taco pretty handedly winning that trade up top against Maple's Jace. And Taco now doing pretty decent damage up into the Poppy.
He's given him a few back. This Jace is getting really strong though, and we see why we don't normally give the Jace over to Maple. I believe last time he played it was a 13-1 performance.
Yep. He's been very
consistent.
Penta
as well.
He did. It was a fairly anticlimactic Penta, but a Penta nonetheless.
Okay, they're finding Woody.
Godtone is in the area. He's channeling the ult. Okay, he's going to come through. Nice fair landed there onto Junjia and Woody. The Magnet Storm keeps him stuck in the Crow Storm, and it's going to be ICA picking up the first kill of the fight there. It's going to be turned over. 2 kills for Wako. Tide manages to trade one back. It's going to be a shutdown there over onto the Jace. There was no further follow-up, though, and I think very, very close team fight. 2 for 2. I mean, kind of surprising.
Yeah. It's pretty surprising. And you maybe wonder, by the way, with how these fights are going, if it would have just been better, as we hold that thought, I'll come back to it. Woody was engaged on, but Godtone finds the angle here where he can get Fear onto 2. And this is a pretty good spot to fight him, because even if Maple wants to commit, he's still taking a lot of damage from the Crow Storm and gets feared. And then this is also a pretty good spot for Olaf to play in.
Well, I wonder if Tide had have gone the W on Braum, if he would have picked up the kill.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, TP comes in.
Oh, it's Maple. He's assisted.
Yeah, looks like he's fine. What I was going to say is a lot of the Fiddlesticks do take First Strike or even Spellbook, and the main reason is so you can get the free stopwatch, because it makes a pretty big difference for early fights. And I also think that if you have something like the Futures Market, it can make getting these first items a lot easier. And I'm not sure actually what he has in secondary, I can't remember, but Cosmic, of course, really nice for the sum cooldown. I'm assuming he has, you know, red and blue, maybe? Sorcery second? I actually don't know.
I would have thought he had red and...
But he didn't have the free stopwatch, right? He had no inspiration.
I don't recall.
Oh, maybe he had magic boots? He might have had magic boots. Either way, it doesn't feel like the Dark Harvest has really found anything. I think it's definitely more of a solo queue rune. And something like the Spellbook could even be good, right? You take something like the Ghost for a team fight, and suddenly things look a lot different.
ICH is playing League of Legends.
Well, they need to get out of here. I think this is too much damage taken. They're going to try play for the fight, but this is a Fiddlesticks in full view, and ICA already chunked so low.
Teleport already channeled here. He's going to be first to the fight as Arja. And how Pigs, there is no way for Adiogs out of this pit. They're just going to have to commit, and the Magnet Storm does come down. Woody getting very, very low, but ultimately will not be found. And down comes the hammer as Tide does come in at the end, but now you have got 4 people around you, and they are not your teammates. It's 4 kills even, found by PSG as Baron is alive. Only Taco remains to try and stop any attempts at that. It is looking like the Dragon will be the focus.
Dragon, like I said, will go over Taco. Maybe trying to find something more. He had the flash and he wanted to look for it, but
the phase rush.
Just too much damage. So that's a clean ace. Second drag picked up, and it looks like bot tower will fall as well. So a massive gold swing for PSG. And that might just be them cementing their first place in the regular season.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit to go, of course. Tide, pretty strong. Adiogs, maybe once you get that Juck show, can find more impact, but it feels like you're kind of expired. Do you think we'll ever see 40 stacks on the Reverse Hydra this game, by the way?
No,
we haven't yet.
I don't think so. I really wonder. I feel like Godzone, he needs a better flank than this. You know, once again, you're engaging onto a brawl. And I think he flashes onto Waku here for the fear, but he can't actually follow up really with the damage.
Yeah.
It's just taken out. And
this Fiddlesticks is a bit of a big nothing burger.
You really just feel like you would much rather be something more consistent if you can't find these angles. Admittedly, it is hard. Right? Like, it's not the easiest champ to pull off in competitive, and we don't see it often for a reason. And now, is he going to Frozen Heart second?
Looks like it.
That has to be awful.
Look, I don't know. Dark Show completed now for Adiogs. He's close to 40. He's at 28.
PSG have enough control. They probably could start up a Baron. Now, it might be risky up against Fiddle, right? If Fiddle does manage to find an angle into the pit, you could be in a lot of trouble. But as long as they have all the control, they could just force them to come and check. And they're thinking about it.
Yeah, no teleport here on Taco's Jax.
Well, they see Godtone.
They do see Godtone. Out comes the Glacial Fissure. It's going to be Godtone getting absolutely annihilated. Not long after, IC8 will also fall in. Adiogs, the next target. He does pop that ult. He's not going to be able to be CC'd, but he's absolutely taken some damage. But not before he does some damage back.
What?
He picks up the 1v4 shutdown kill there onto Maple. As well as the amount of damage he was able to put out means that perhaps this Baron now cannot be looked at.
Yeah, I don't know. There's still 3 members dead. I think if they were really bold, they could, but they're going to play it safe. They don't need to rush, although they're back to rushing.
Now, Prey Seekers do have that reset available. First one, however, lands onto Woody's. Not all that much damage. It is the Gwynsu's Kai'Sa. That one will not land. So now Taco trying to stop it. Grandmaster's might, but he's going to get hit away there by RJ on the Poppy. Cleanse used, but it's not really used onto anything. Killer Instinct just to try and disengage. Taco's looking for something here. IC8 in the area, but with that Winter's Bite connecting, can no longer go forward, and it is PSG picking themselves up a Baron 23 minutes into this game. Also finding themselves at a 6k gold lead.
Yep. And Fiddlesticks, very vulnerable, of course, to getting engaged on first. Doesn't have a stopwatch or anything. Is just stuck between a rock and several hard places. And Adiogs, I mean, he really...
This is crazy.
I don't even know how he lived here for so long. I mean, there's 4 people hitting him in the middle, and he somehow clears up one. And if he were a bit stronger, there's a good chance he wins that.
Yeah.
As insane as that is. I mean...
I think he died before Triumph Proc even came in too. So even then, there's like, man...
And I guess that's why they're going for all the armor, because there is really only the AP from the Maokai. But the AP Maokai does add quite a bit of damage. Now, it isn't the Leandries, so maybe not as much as there would be normally. Barker's being looked at, has everything available.
He's in the area. IC8 does come forward. Magnet Storm does come and follow. There is no Godtone and there is no Fiddlesticks ult here. He's going to channel it, but it's only going to land onto RJ and Woody. Definitely not the members you want to be hitting, as Tide trying to find some damage on the back end, but realizes he can't walk in, and this Fiddlesticks pick is looking like an absolute nightmare, but not for the other team. For his team, as Junjia blast cones over and realizes a bit too far forward, flashes back out. 5 members strong, though, for PSG now, are sieging onto this base. It's only Tide, it's only Taco. The same 2 members who had to try to defend the Baron now have to try and defend the Nexus.
Well, it looks like they will defend it for now. Inhib went down, and there's a Dragon that's probably going to go down in about a minute's time. 4,000 gold off the Baron, though. Huge pickup, of course, for PSG, and it feels like they're in a pretty unlosable position. I'm not too sure what this was. Chasing onto Wako feels like the hardest person to engage on, and also it feels like this has to start with Fiddlesticks, if anything, because now Fiddle is so far away from this. You know, maybe if you could get PSG to come towards you, it could work, but by the time Fiddle finds an angle to engage, it's once again onto a full tank Poppy who, while he doesn't have any MR, has enough health that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And also, I mean, notably, Gold Tone doesn't really have any magic damage.
True.
Adiogs trying to find some trades here as Gold Tone going to take another accelerated shock blast to the face, sending him back to his Nexus.
That might be it. They have 15 seconds on Baron, so maybe they can buff this wave. I'm not even sure if they can in time. They still have really strong poke, though, just from Maple's Jace.
Yeah. Adiogs, though, this Baron buff going down in 1 second. See how much damage Undertow does. In fact, he's only going to throw it at Woody.
Well, they are going to keep going for now. I feel like this... Oh, he's going for it.
Yeah, he goes for it, and he finds a minion wave. Nice wave clear there, of course, coming out of the Crow Storm. Again,
with that, they should just turn back to drag.
He was doing it on what was absolute vision there from PSG.
It's unfortunate. I think finding an engager's Fiddlesticks now is pretty much impossible, because once you're this far behind, it's just so easy for PSG to control everything. You do have to wonder, though, if any of those first 3 fights had gone differently, if he had found better engages or better angles, you know, this very well could be a different game.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think otherwise, right? Even in those fights where they basically didn't have a Fiddlesticks, they came down to the absolute wire. Okay, we're at 32 Ravenous Hydra stacks.
There's a Morello for Jinjia, which seemed like a pretty good decision, actually. You know, not often am I a Morello fan, but there's a lot of healing on that mid-jungle. And Maokai's a good person to apply it to.
Yeah.
Lots of members in this top jungle. Maybe they just want to take this tier 2 ahead of the next Baron. Even if you can't get that, just the top side vision would probably be enough. And while there is a lot of armor, you know, on this Olaf and Fiddle, the problem is there is already the Serylda's on Maple. And I think Wako just does so much damage that the armor almost doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, Woody, I mean, not Woody, sorry. Wako picking up the Moab Mortis seems a little bit too safe, in my opinion. Just basically, there's no... Oh, God.
They find a flank.
They do find a flank, and as Adiog's actually fighting a lot onto Maple, as IC8 will be locking up those 2 members up the top side. Maple does get himself a kill as Taco flashes over, finds himself 1 in return, and now it's 3 members strong, chasing down Adiog's. The exhaust coming through from Woody will all but convince me, or, you know,
something.
Certify his death, I guess. Now it's only going to be Taco and Tide. I mean, this has been the story of the entire game, really. These two trying to do everything they can to maintain a hope, a chance. Wako flashing forward, Tide finding the damage. He's going to try and live.
Wait.
Taco coming back now. They've trolled. Oh, okay. Nice work by Arja, but Tide back to full health. It's 1 shut down. You don't want to be giving over too much gold to the Kaiser. It seems like a bit of trolling has been going on as another kill will be found. It's Taco who picks up that one, and Arja on the backside loses his flash for what was war crimes being committed there at the Nexus.
Yes. Hellpigs need to sprint to Baron. That's the chance to somehow crawl back into this game. War crimes it really was. I mean, Wako was getting so greedy there.
We've seen it before out of him as well. And Jinjia now.
He's forced to flash.
He is forced to flash.
He gets some damage though.
Magnet Storm does come through. Maple's in the area. They do have to be careful. Tide will have to use his cleanse as IC8 gets poked down very, very low here. Perhaps going a little bit too early. Team were not ready for that, and they lose their chance at this Baron.
Wow. I feel like they honestly just had to do it. Even if you get aced, I think it's worth trying, because I don't think there's any way to win this game conventionally down this far. But I think if Adiogs had managed to be there, and if they had just managed to DPS down the Baron, even if you lose a couple on the way out, maybe you give yourself a chance in this game. But even more defenses come through now. More on Maple, GA for Wako, and MR starting to rebuild on Arja. So while Tide has a lot of AP, he's not going to have a Void and not going to have a way to deal with all this magic resist. A Randuin's here, picked up for Adiogs.
Yep, Randuin's will be completed. That will lower the damage coming out of Zaya in particular quite substantially.
Yeah.
We'll see though. It feels like
not
Olaf's been
again.
outscaled. Godtone has been found. Silence onto Arjez. Featherstorm committed from Wako. Fight breaks out. It's now Adiogs trying to find the damage, but you may have the Randuins for Wako, but it's not going to do all that much against Jace as Godtone finds himself in the middle of 5 and immediately flashing out. He's stunned up. He's going to be taken out. And would you believe it, Shock? We have Taco and Tide last alive again as Tide tries to find the kill on
The
Maple. But the more Mortis will make Maple live, and it's only Taco. All that separates the team of PSG for securing their first place is 1 inhib, 2 towers, and a Nexus. See if Taco can do anything to stop this, but 1v5, it feels even this man can't get it done. Second Nexus tower will go down. They are going to look for another kill, but Taco with the counter-strike just walks on out, and PSG will be first place heading into the playoffs.